people are coming up with all kinds of stories, and the media is taking full advantage of it because media relies on people buying their news. So the more they sensationalize it, the more they'll sell. There's no loyalty, honesty, sincerity left. I'm making this video because I'm so sick and tired of people constantly talking about Brexit and coming up with all kinds of BS. Now, a very good friend of mine who's very educated and is British and lives in Sweden sent me a message the other day saying, I've been told that if there's no deal, then suddenly, overnight, all the Brits living abroad will become illegal. And I was like, so whatever happens to the 3 to 5 million foreigners or European citizens living in England, same thing will happen to the Brits living abroad. So I don't think overnight the government's going to say, tomorrow you're all illegal, pack up your stuff and leave. They have homes, they have children, they have lives and jobs and everything. Same thing for the Brits living around Europe. Nothing's going to happen. This is all just sensational media trying to create stuff out of nothing. They make the life of our already completely useless politicians even more difficult, because the politicians can't do anything that could be considered right or sincere, because the minute they try to do something, the media will twist it. And there's a whole machine behind it. Now, my take on Brexit is that it will probably annoy some of my viewers and other people who'll watch this video, that Great Britain was great long before European Union existed. And the whole world speaks English, not because the European Union helped it, because the Brits went around the world, conquered the world, and we get a lot of stick for this, basically, that we went around and took over people's lands and things. But most of these people who moan about this have never actually been to those countries. If you're very well traveled, you will know that countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, many parts of the various islands that we used to own, and so many other colonies, they have railway tracks, they have bridges. So much infrastructure was built by the British. They have legal systems and other processes that were created, the whole governance structures. A lot of that was given to them by the British. And if you go visit India and Pakistan, which was the subcontinent, India at the time, you'll be surprised to see that there are bridges still up and running, which we built, as in the British, and they were built and they had expiry dates put on them to say this bridge should be replaced on such and such date. I was surprised to see that some of those bridges had expiry dates of 1980 something and 1975 something, and now we're in year 2018 and they're still standing and they're still being used. So, and you can tell by the state of them that they haven't been replaced, they haven't been worked on, they're just very well done. If you travel around Europe by car, you will see that all the roads around Europe, well, I say all, but I would say 95% of the roads that I have used, except for some of those in France, don't really have the same surface that you have in Britain. If it rains, it's impossible to drive. I mean, Norway, Sweden, wealthy countries, not poor countries, they don't have decent roads. We're in 2018. You drive in a rainstorm in Britain and there's no water on the road because our engineers build them in a way that it sucks the water out and puts it on the side. These are just little examples of things that I'm giving to my viewers, that England, Great Britain is great and will always be great, not because of European Union. It's because of the culture we have. It's because of the mindset that we have. We're a very, very different nation. We believe that everyone should be given equal rights. Everyone should have the right to be creative. People should be given freedom. If you live in Europe, in the EU, you'll know, for example, in Germany, if you move from one city to another, you have to go to the local police station and register yourself. That feels like a police state, very much invasion of privacy. In England, you can come from Germany, Romania, Hungary, wherever, and you can rent a place, buy a place, move into any city, anywhere. You don't have to register with the police. You don't have to do anything. You just start a life. Yes, you have to get your work permit card, which is the national insurance card, but that just shows that you're an EU citizen and you're entitled to work. So we actually provide complete freedom. We don't have ID cards in this country. If a policeman stops you, they say, "What's your name? What's your address?" They don't ask for your ID. When you're traveling around Europe, everyone says, "Oh, keep your ID on you, driver's license or something." In the UK, you can be driving a car. You don't need your driver's license. You don't need your insurance. You don't need your car documents. If the police stop you, they will say, "Okay, in 7 days, take it to your local police station to prove that you have all these things." So the point I'm trying to make is our country is great because of so many reasons. Like I could sit here and talk for hours and hours and days to say why we are the way we are, why we are so amazing. But the problem with the British is that, and that's one negative thing that I find, is we don't like blowing our own trumpet. As in, we don't like saying good things about ourselves. If you go around the world, start with America, constantly waving their flag and saying how great they are. We don't, because we've always thought we have nothing to prove, therefore we don't care. If someone makes fun of us or if someone is sarcastic, we join them and we laugh at ourselves. You go and do that with the French, you go do it with the Spanish. Maybe the Spanish might be a bit comfortable with it, but they will bite your head off if you tell them that they're wrong. For us, normal. How many other countries can you pick on the map, except for America, which is made up of foreigners, but where you have massive, massive amounts of foreigners living in these countries, just like normal citizens? That's the only country I can think of is Great Britain. We have people coming from all around the world. We are accepting, we're tolerant, we give them equal rights. If someone is good, we treat them well. And even the bad people, we treat them well because of our culture. Sometimes not very good to do that, but that's how we are. So yeah, when people talk about this whole Brexit thing that, oh, we will be lost without Europe, I was against the idea of Brexit because I like my European friends. But to be honest, Europe is not doing very well. It is made up of a bunch of bureaucrats who travel around in private jets. They are so removed from the actual person on the ground. They're not elected. They are making rules and laws all around Europe that impact everyone equally without really understanding the differences of cultures. To be honest, if the EU really wanted to make a difference, as in the EU leaders, the first thing you start off with is integration. How do you integrate so many different languages and cultures on a continent? First thing I would do is make sure that everyone speaks 3 or 4 languages. 20 years ago, if they had enforced a law that every kid in every school will be forced to learn English, French, German, Spanish, then today all these young lost souls who are out there waving the flag that we should be part of EU, not realizing what it actually means, would actually understand each other and understand the culture. You cannot understand another culture if you don't speak their language. There'll always be issues. I speak several languages and I understand even more languages. So for me, I find that sometimes it's impossible to translate from one language to another because of the cultural differences. So that would have been the first step. They can enforce how much, fumes a car is pumping out and what kind of tax should be applied to various products. Yet they couldn't impose a simple thing to say everyone should learn each other's languages. I mean, why should everyone speak English? Yes, that was a few hundred years ago what we did, and ruled the world, and it became a common language. But in this time and age, if you go to Netherlands or Sweden or Norway, most people speak 2-3 languages by default. So our brains are fully capable of learning these languages, yet nothing was done. So when you go to France and you go to a small village, you're an alien, even though you're part of the EU. It doesn't matter if you're allowed to travel to another part of the EU. You can't communicate, you can't understand what's going on, and they don't treat you like one of them. People are treated better in England, mostly, in my opinion, is because when they come here, they all speak English. And they have watched enough television, they understand our culture, and it's easier for them to assimilate, which isn't the same in other countries. As far as the EU leaders are concerned, I have come across many, and they are not fit to govern. They are bureaucrats. And we are supposed to be living in a democracy which is run by people creating laws who are not elected. Might as well create a federation, a dictatorship, run centrally by Germany. I mean, I love Germans, and I have so many close friends who are German. It's one of my favorite countries in Europe. But Germany did try to invade the whole of Europe and make it uniform. This time, they're doing it with laws and money rather than with guns. And there are a few countries in the EU who have a lot of say and power, and they treat other countries as if they're second-class citizens, which really, really bugs me and annoys me, because we want everyone to be equal. Then it shouldn't be about who puts in how much money. It should be about equal rights and voting and treating everyone equally. So I think that anyone who's panicking about Brexit and all that shouldn't. Everything is going to be okay, because at the end of the day, all these people, including media, want to make money. To make money, they will have to have some rules, some agreements in place. Even if they don't have it on day one, it will be day 2, day 3. They will need to create it, because without those agreements, nothing's going to work. Everyone's going to stop making money. And that's what it's all about. And I keep going back to this point that I raise. Politicians all around Europe are poorly paid. Therefore, you get third-class people running in politics. In the past, if you had family money and if you were wealthy, you went into politics. But then this whole thing about rich and poor and how rich don't understand, so we should have democracy and elections and all that. Obviously, masses win. Therefore, we are where we are. We have these politicians who are career politicians. If they don't win the election, they pretty much are incapable of doing anything else. So all they have to do is work really hard to stay employed. Instead, we should, for example, in England, I keep saying, instead of having 400 to 600, whatever the number of members of parliament we have, we should reduce that to 100. And they should all be paid £1 million each or more. And then you will get the cream of the crop. You'll get people who are running massive companies and businesses who will know that, yes, I'm going to be paid well for something and I'll make a difference. At the moment, everyone who is trying to make a difference is not really capable of doing anything else. And believe me, there are very few people. Those who have family money and education and things are into politics are potentially trying to do the right thing because they don't do it to serve their own pockets and to, I don't know, put their kids through school. So the point is, you can't, or I'm fine, but the masses won't want someone with family money or wealth to be running the country. Therefore, we need to create a system that brings in the right people. They should all have to go through a vetting process. They should be issued with some certificates as a license. You need a license to drive a car, but you don't need a license to run a country. Go figure. With a car, you might be able to kill 5, 10, 50, 100 people if you crash. Being a bad politician, you can kill millions and get away with it, as many have done in the past. So the point is, they should be properly regulated and governed, and they should go through rigorous exams, they should be checked, they should be vetted, psychometric analysis, psychologists, all of that. Then they get issued a license. And then we should be able to vote for anyone all around the country, rather than just the guy around the corner. What if I like someone in Scotland? I should be able to vote for them. So yeah, Brexit is a pain, but we all have to deal with it, and we have to get on with our lives. We have millions of foreigners living in England. We have Polish as the second most widely spoken language in the UK. Who would think that? We've had India as a colony, and Indians coming to this country for decades. Everywhere you go, your shops and things are run by Indians, and everyone assumed until that statistics was collected that Indian would be or Urdu or whatever language would be the most widely spoken language in the UK after English, but it turned out it's Polish, which shows we have so many Polish or Poles living here. Great. As I've said in my videos before, I think they're really hardworking people, and not just the Poles, but as in most people who come to England, and we welcome them. It's the only country in the world that I know of where you don't need to have specific qualification for a job. When you go apply for a job and they look at your CV, what they look for is your ability to learn, your ability to apply yourself, study, work hard, research, and pass an exam, which means that you're capable of doing most things. Yes, if you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, those are specific skills, so you have to have qualifications. But if you work in the corporate world, you'll be surprised to see that there's so many people who work in different fields who don't have specific qualifications for that. So this is the only country which allows you to do that. Therefore, people come from all over the world and they make a life for themselves and they become successful. If you go to Europe, most countries that I go to, everyone has to decide in school what they want to do, and then they have to follow a specific path, and then they become a cog in a wheel, a machine, and they are just fixed in what they do for the rest of their lives. I used to be a doctor. I decided that I didn't want to remain being a doctor, and I went into financial services, and I am a management consultant now. I help companies merge, I do post-merger integration, I do divestiture planning, massive change programs, regulatory-driven stuff, a whole raft of a very broad skill set. How is that possible, and how was it created? Thanks to the UK. In other countries, I would have been a doctor, or I would have had to go work in a hospital in some administrative position because I had a medical degree, and I would be sort of sidelined and marginalized. In this country, the world is your oyster, and that's why Great Britain is so great. There's no competition and show off, which is another great thing. America is the land of the dreams, but it's not really true. That's just Hollywood and the movies. In reality, 35 million people in America live below the poverty line. That's half the population of the UK. Go figure. So in America, everyone believes that you can be whoever you want to be, but it's fairly racist. Religion has a very strong role to play. There's so many things you can't do. In Britain, it doesn't matter what color you are, what race you are, what religion you are. If you're good at what you do, and if you're a good person, everyone will like you. There is no show off, I'm trying to describe something which it's hard to describe in a politically correct way. But the thing is, if you have a lot of money and if you're very successful, you're not going to be arrogant if you're British. Your next door neighbor could be poor and you're not. You'll still talk to each other, you'll be friendly, and you'll be normal. In America, you'd move. I mean, I've lived in so many parts of London throughout my life, in extremely wealthy areas and poor areas and everything. No one has this divide, or maybe there is a tiny bit of a divide perhaps, not that I've felt it, maybe there is, but it's not in your face. In America, if you stop at traffic light, the guy in the better car will look at the other one and like, yeah, I've done better than you. We don't have that. We actually hide what we have because we consider that to be, it's whatever I've done is mine. I don't have to prove to anyone. It comes back to that thing. Great Britain has been great for a long time. When you have been great for a long time, you don't need to prove. And with or without EU, we will still be great. So people, stop panicking. Nothing's going to change. We are still going to be good, as we've always been. And just stay humble and keep calm and carry on. As our slogan goes, this is the time to apply it. So thanks for watching, and hope this was of some use. I just needed to vent.